From the normal to the abnormal to the paranormal, all things are possible as we explore the mysteries of space, life, death, and engage in the never-ending quest to find out the truth of what's out there and why. I'm George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh, and you're listening to the George Senda Show on Paranormal Chat. Allow me, good listeners and seekers of truth, to be your guide tonight as we delve into the shadows and seek out the light in the sea of darkness.
Welcome to the George Senda Show. Please join George on this audio journey of self-discovery, paranormal phenomenon, and YouTube greatness. I am your host, Jazz Munda, and joining me on this journey is my good friend, the Mud King. Good evening, the Mud King. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
If you guys would like to call us tonight, the number is 317-708-4500, or alternatively, you can Skype us on Live Show 99. Now, you're not here to hear me or the Mudkin talk, and without further ado, let me introduce you to the man of the hour, the day, the week, the year. You might know him as Folky 2013. I know him as the guy from Pittsburgh, except no cheesy imitations. George Senda, welcome to your show.
How you doing, everybody? This is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh, and Jasmunda from the land of Pink Lakes, and Curtis from the land of the flooded basement people. I'm here, and we'll talk about what I want to talk about, what they want to talk about, and what you want to talk about. And one of the things I want to address real briefly, I don't want to dwell on it. I did talk to Jason Callan. Some people don't believe it. And some of his supporters sent me really nasty emails. That has stopped, thank God. But I've never understood insulting people in a comment which don't get published, that I'm a loser. By what criteria, I don't know. That's how they think. I have made bad choices in my life, in thought or action or deed or spoken, and I wish I could take some of them back, but I've moved on. So if you can't accept me for who I am today and not who I was, then I'm sorry. I'm being the best George I can, and I will not be going to Alien Con. I just don't have the money. I'll go next year, and next year I will. Actually, in 2019, I'll have my own car, my license back, and then I start working on moving out of this apartment. One of the reasons is inconsiderate neighbors, a lot of noise, and just general craziness. So I would like some help if someone could walk me through to set up a Patreon page, because I've read their instructions and I can't make sense of them. I've got Patreon on my iPad. But one of the things I want to get is more income, because my plan to get out of here is going to cost me about $25,000. That's buying land, building a house, building a video studio, and being out in the middle of nowhere where I won't have noisy neighbors, motorcycles, crazy screaming on the street, drug dealers, you name it. We have drug dealers at this building because they let young people move into the building. So that's where I am today. Now, one of the interesting things I found was there are pink lakes. There are two of them in Australia, and one of them turns normal color when the spring comes, and there are several pink lakes around the world, and this is due to algae and stuff. And there's a new book I found out about tonight. I don't have the link, but it's on eBay, and I think it's called the Carl Sagan Conspiracy or something of that order. And apparently Carl Sagan wrote a research paper at Stanford in which he said that the ancient Sumerians were visited by ancient astronauts, and the CIA apparently suppressed that paper. Now the news came out. This book came out last year, and I sent a screenshot to George Norrie, saying if you haven't had this guy on, maybe you should have him on as a guest, because it floored me, because Carl Sagan was very anti-UFO until his last book, and anti-aliens. And if he came to those conclusions, then it's just mind-boggling. So I haven't done a lot of videos this week because my sinus infection flared up and I had an 18-hour migraine for two days. So that's why you haven't seen me doing a lot of stuff. All right, that's all I want to say. Anything you guys want to bring up? I did look in the Men in Black, and I was going to reread my John Keel book, but I took it with me to go shopping and put a cup of water in my bag, and it wiped my Mothman Prophecies book out, so I have to get a new copy of the book, which is annoying. I hate ruining a perfectly good paranormal book. I won't do that again. And but I know about Mothman and how it terrorized Point Pleasant, West Virginia for over a year. And the skeptics say there is no Mothman and all of that. There was a Mothman over an American city flying in 1898. So these cryptoids, these strange beings may have been with us all through history. Who knows what they are? The same with the Greys and everything else. All right.
Yeah. My question is, do you think it was a paranormal Mothman there that caused your book to get spilled? Maybe it's
no, but I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something that happened that I think was very paranormal. In my apartment, when I went to do the Men in Black video I did the other day, I had my iPad in my hand and was walking in my hallway between the living room, and I was about the point you leave the kitchen and the hallway, and my iPad leaped out of my hand. I didn't drop it. It went about 1.5 feet and hit the floor. So, and you can imagine the words I said, and I picked it up and it was fine, but it was very, very weird.
That's wild. Defying gravity. I'm sure that's not a feature that Steve Jobs built into the iPad.
Not unless Steve Jobs has haunted my iPad.
There you go. I like that story even better. One thing I want to point out to everyone who's listening is a great way to support George and all the things he mentioned in his intro there about his plans for the future is to definitely subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch the videos that he does. And especially like all these episodes are going to be posted on his YouTube channel to be listened to anytime if you're a subscriber or even if you're not a subscriber. But be sure to check those out and become a member of that community, because YouTube does pay content providers who are doing unique content like George is doing. So that's a great way to support him, as well as PayPal and Patreon in the near future.
Yeah, and I have a new link for PayPal, which I put in the bottom of my videos, but I can't. I'm in the living room and I'm lying on the bed because the last time I did the last show, sitting for 2.5 hours killed my back and my feet for 2 days. So I'm being not lazy, but because of the crushed disc in my spine, the sciatic nerve, my body says you can't sit here for that long. I don't know how newsmen do it when they do these, conventions and stuff, how they sit there for that long on Fox. Of course, they're a lot younger than I am, too. There is one other thing. I've been called a bum and a loser. I'm going to be 65, and why don't I go to work? I'm going to be 65, and I could list a laundry list of all my ailments of why I can't work. And I wish people would knock it the hell off. If I were still working, I'd be retired in another month. So what's the point of telling me to go to work? I don't want to go to work. Even part-time. I worked from the age of 12 till I got ill. And I'm tired. I want to just do what I do. I just could use more money, that's all. Because money drives everything. Going to UFO Con, they want $125 just to enter the door, plus a fee, a PayPal fee or something. And that's before you see Nori or anybody else. And the hotel, you got to get there, you got to eat. And then every event or a lot of events are pay only, like brunch with Nori or lunch with this guy or meet the author's party. By the time you get done, you've spent $500 or $600 or $700 to go to a UFO convention.
Well, hopefully, George, you become a success and people will pay to see you and to have lunch with you. That's our goal here, I think.
Well, I will probably go the cheap way. We'll all meet Jack in the Box or something.
Count me in.
Save people some money, or we'll go to like Sprouts Farmers Market, go to something healthy, Oh, that's another thing. I got given I stopped at Pete's Coffee, which is an alternative to Starbucks in the Bay Area. And the guy, here's your organic something coffee. I don't know what it was, but it could have taken the paint off your deck. It was so damn strong.
Wow.
I had to put like 3 dollops of cream in it and about 6 Splendids. So I was going like, what the hell is this coffee? Organic varnish? I mean, I don't... and Starbucks is strong coffee, but this time I went like, ah!
You might need to send me some of that because I need to strip some paint off of some metal railings at my house. I could use that.
Yeah, well, you'd probably be better if you could get a solution of Coca-Cola. That stuff will eat oil off your driveway.
Yeah, isn't that crazy to think that people drink that regularly? I try to limit any kind of caffeinated and what's the other word that I'm looking for? And that not just caffeinated. Carbonated beverages. I try to limit my intake of those as much as I can, but still I drink them, and then you see how they eat up different solutions. You're like, oh, that goes in your stomach.
Oh yeah, they do wonders on a nail too. They'll dissolve a nail or a screw completely if you let it sit there for long enough.
Oh wow!
In a like a glass jar,
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you see a video that had surfaced online this week comparing Coca-Cola and Coke Zero? They had 2 video images, one on top of the other, of pouring Coca-Cola into a pan and burning off the contents of it, burning off the water, and doing the same thing underneath with a Coke Zero. Now, once all the water had evaporated, there was nothing left of the Coke Zero, but what was left in the Coca-Cola pan was just this gluggy brown substance that was just all sugar. And it was actually quite frightening to see how much sugar content is in these fizzy drinks that we're guzzling all the time.
No, I have, but one of the things that's amusing me is the beverage industry is now saying how they're cutting the sugar. They've got a commercial that's running on DirecTV Now, CBS, how they're becoming more and more health conscious, and they show one drink and it's got cane sugar, but it's still soda. So I am disturbed that I'm getting more and more products now, and I'm finding genetically modified ingredients, and I'm going, why is my 7-Up, my Canada Dry Ginger Ale, my Pop-Tart or whatever, why do I need GMO in my food here? Was there some cost-efficient thing that you needed GMO food to add to this to make it? I don't know what their reasoning is. Canada Dry settles my stomach, and 7-Up. It's the only reason I drink it. But now on the back of the bottle it says contains some genetically modified, and ginger ale used to have ginger in it. Is there any ginger in ginger ale? I don't know. And now Schweppes, which used to be British, they're doing the same thing. And I don't like all this GMOs. What's the reasoning for it that there's this flood of this stuff? I look in the back of packages to see if it's got GMO in it.
Can you explain to the audience what a GMO is? For those who aren't familiar.
They take like corn, and they'll make it more insect resistant or blight resistant to plant viruses. But the problem is when you plant GMO crops, they take over, and the regular seed crop dies off, and it leaches into the soil, and then it screws up the other farming areas, for planting regular stuff that isn't genetically modified. It's bad news. It's pushed by Monsanto, maybe the CIA, other group, Bayer. There's a whole bunch of companies doing this, and it's something that should have never been allowed. You know, Luther Burbank, the great plant researcher in Santa Rosa, California. I've seen his house. I've seen where his garden was. He did strains of fruits and vegetables and grafted new things and created new plants that didn't exist, but he did it naturally. He didn't have to modify it with chemicals or in a lab. And, there's a thing, I think it's just pure, it's either profit or they're doing it for some sinister reason that I don't know. And George Norrie's had guests about this GMO stuff. You can go back and probably search the past shows. It's just got a good thing. There's no reason to do this that I can see other than either economics or they want to so screw the food chain up that we can't get regular foods. And there's a lot of survivalist sites that sell untampered with seed crops because people don't want to plant this genetically modified garbage in the ground and eat it.
Do you think there'll ever come a point where it gets officially banned by a government? I know Europe is farther along in those types of regulations than the U.S. is.
Well, I think that Europe is more health conscious than we are. The Germans, I know, are. They've had purity laws since the 1400s. But here we've got lobbyists and payoffs. So this is one reason why this stuff is allowed.
Right.
Probably the same in Canada. I don't know about Australia.
That's what I was going to ask you guys. Are you the product of a genetically modified seed?
No, we're quite anti all of that at the moment. People are. I think we're taking a let's wait and see approach. What Europe does, what the US does, and there's quite a lot of negative feeling towards genetically modified products. And if they are, then I definitely want them to be labelled and identified because I want to know. Because I read an article in the States where now they're getting away with not having to identify if something's been, modified, genetically modified. And that's kind of scary because I want to know what I'm eating.
Well, one thing about California, they do have fairly strong GMO laws, although the lobbyists keep trying to change them. They have to say this stuff is GMO. Oh, another thing that's going on this week, it has nothing to do with that, but it will affect anybody coming to California if they're driving a car. This is a state that for years told us to go green, become environmentally friendly. So what did everybody do, including moi? We went out and bought Priuses. So now, because the roads here are, excuse my language, fucked up, potholes, roads washed out due to all the rain we've been getting. Instead of the drought, we now have flooding all over the state, including the county I live in. They declared it a partial disaster. There's one road in this area, they got to travel 40 miles to get to their house, around all the way to Fremont and back down again because the road's washed out. But they're going to raise the gas tax by 12 cents. They're going to raise the diesel by 20 cents. And they're going to charge you, if you drive a hybrid, $100 a year road use tax. And I predicted this years ago, and liberals online, you're crazy. I said, they're going to start charging you for driving your car because partly the left in this country hate the automobile. They get pollutes even when it doesn't because, Priuses and things put out very little emissions. And part of what the state's going to do, they're taking money from the diesel fund, and instead of applying it to the bonds, they're going to apply it to road repair, which means one day their bonds might default. But this is what's going to happen. We're going to get a 12 cent a gallon raise in taxes if this bill goes through. It's in the legislature. And our crazed governor, who spends money on everything except the infrastructure of the state, if you're an illegal alien driving a Prius, he probably doesn't want to charge you $100. But they're going to probably pass this thing. And I went by on the bus the other night, and the gas, the Valero, was $2.83 a gallon for regular, which means it'll go to $2.95 a gallon. We'll have we'll have $3 gas. We might have $4 gas. And we have the highest, or probably other than Hawaii and Alaska, probably the highest gas prices in the country here.
Wow. I know. I just filled up for $2.09, and I have a Prius, and it's so nice for $15 to have a full gas tank that I can drive hundreds of miles.
Yeah, but this galls me that for years we were all told, get hybrid vehicles, and now they're going to charge you $100 to use the roads that your gas taxes have already paid for.
Right.
If anyone wants to
I
call
hope
the
someone
show,
sues the state for this, but I don't know if they're going to or not. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
that's all right. If you want to call the show, 317-708-4500, or you can Skype us by searching Live Show 99. That's Live Show space 99.
The car. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, George. Go ahead.
The car I'm going to be buying is a used Toyota Highlander hybrid.
I like the Highlander.
So,
it's a nice car. Or crossover. That's a
I
crossover.
got told by a guy you get to LA on a tank of gas. And once I got that, you'll see me doing paranormal videos like crazy. Then I drive my car to a location and say, I'm here at the Haunted Hotel or at the Pink Lake. I've ferried it across to Australia. I'm at the Pink Lake, and I'm in search of Jasmine, who's eating pink Starburst.
Well, George, I think you're going to need to go visit the DMV and get your license before you drive a car. I can't advise you to drive without a license.
Look, by next year, I will have my fines paid off. I've already got the paperwork in the DMV. All I got to do is straighten out the one problem I got. That'll be done. I'm not going to drive the car until I get my license, so don't worry about that.
That's good. We don't advise people. We don't advise people driving without a license. You were talking about the Pink Lake that appeared in my hometown, actually not far from where I live. Actually, I'm reading this article from midnightinthedesert.com. A lake in Melbourne's west has turned pink. The Salt Lake in Westgate Park in Port Melbourne, below the Westgate Bridge, has turned pink due to a perfect mix of high temperatures, sunlight, and low rainfall. Have you ever experienced a pink lake, George?
No. I've seen water colored very strangely that didn't look blue, from red tide, but not pink lakes. So. And apparently there's another one in Australia. I sent you the screenshot, and it's also
Western
pink.
Australia. Yeah, but it seems like it's perfectly normal, given perfect conditions for that to happen.
It's still a trip. They did advise in the article I read, do not swim in the Pink Lake. It will dissolve you.
But we have a caller on the line.
Yeah, we've got a caller.
Yeah, sorry, we'll come back to that caller. State your name and what's your question or comment. Caller, are you there? Sounds like we're having an audio problem, but it was working earlier, so I'm confident that part is good. Okay, we will try that again. We'll go on. We have another caller here, so let's go ahead and jump to the next one. Caller, you are on the air. What's your question or comment? Also state your name.
Hi, my name is Stellar from Bell Gap, and a guy that goes by the handle of Wildcard said I should contact you on Skype, Live Show 99, and get an interview. I do a lot of posting on Bell Gap, and I'm also the author of the Voynich manuscript, Middle English.
Oh, really?
My
okay.
name.
Talk a little bit about that manuscript. What's the thesis behind it?
Well, the thesis behind it is the glyphs, which are the code, so to speak, of the Voynich manuscript. As you know, all that mysterious script that people look at, and all those beautiful pictures. Well, it was dated from 1404 to 1438. You may or may not know that, in the 15th century. And what I did is I found out that the glyphs are actually letters that are associated with numbers.
That's pretty interesting. George, do you have any experience or comments on that?
I've seen things about glyph stones, from the Norse to the American Indian to even the Mayan. I was watching, Ancient Aliens this morning briefly. So I don't know that much about them, but I know they've been trying to interpret these for years, and some of them have never been decoded because they just don't have a key for it.
Yeah, I understand that. Is there any way I can send you a link to my website so you could look at the cipher I created?
Me or them?
Let's have it go to you. That way you can decide if you want to have him on as a guest.
Oh, yeah, it's Falky2013 at can't even say it. Gmail.com.
Okay,
Falkie. It's on the top of my YouTube page. Should be my email address. I'd have to go look, and I'm not in the bedroom to go look. But it's FALKIE 2013 at Gmail.
Is your name George?
Yes.
Oh, okay. My name is Tom. Nice to meet you, George.
Hello, Tom. How you doing? Good. I'd be interested in that myself because those old rock things, they find slates and different things. Oak Island has one of those. Always fascinated me. Who created these and why? And regular science. Oh, this doesn't mean anything. It's all BS. But somebody took the time to write these for whatever reason, and it's part of cryptography. It's where we started doing cryptography, trying to look at the Rosetta Stone and Egyptian hieroglyphics, or the Mayan hieroglyphics, and you even have what are those guys? I'm probably getting the name wrong. The Zunis in the Southwest American desert, and they say that their ancestors came from the stars, and they've got petroglyphs on mountain faces and stuff. I watched part of that this morning. So, yeah, just drop me an email and I'll take a look.
That's very interesting, George. I also have heard that a lot of the layouts of like the pyramids, the ley lines, and some of the, like DC, and there's a connection to the Pleiadians, and which is really esoteric, out there stuff. But you'll find that in the Keys of Solomon, which is at my website as well. But I've written a lot on Bell Gab, and I just wanted to check you out.
Okay, well, I'll take a look at that. Send me an email. When the show's over, I'll take a look at it. I can't do it when I'm on the iPad because I'm on the show. So I'll look at the email and send you a reply and say, yeah, okay, this is interesting enough to get on the show. Thank you for calling.
Thank you, George. You have a good evening.
You too. Have a good weekend. Oh, by the way, before I forget, everybody in the continental United States, except in parts of Indiana, and I forget who else doesn't do it, this weekend is the beginning of daylight savings time, the annual torture, where you have to set all your clocks forward again. So that's Sunday morning. So don't show up late to work Monday. Set your clocks forward.
Yeah, that would be Arizona's the other. We have a, let's see here. We've got another caller on the line. Caller, state your name and your question or comment for George.
Hey, I'm Emma, and my parents are like a big fan of the Paranormal Chat, so I like to join in.
Well, thank you.
I want to ask about ghosts, and I'm pretty sure my house is haunted.
Wait a minute, I couldn't hear part of it because of the low voice. A ghost in your house is haunted. All right, what? You sound like a young adult. How old are you?
Oh, I'm 10.
Okay. What are you experiencing in your house?
Well, so the new house we just moved into, I've heard like a lot of footsteps on the stairs, and you can hear a lot of like when I'm home alone. and like banging coming from the attic. I've seen like flashes or shadow type things in the living room, the TV, static randomly. And
So you've got shadow people in your house?
I'm not sure. I've seen like shadow type things, so it might be that. I wasn't positive.
Well, you know, frequently young children, I'm not picking on you, so don't misunderstand me. Poltergeist activity is tied to children. You may have a poltergeist in there, you may have a ghost. I would try to contact someone, I don't know where you are, in your area and see if your parents are willing to investigate what's in your house, because you may have a haunting. The other thing you could do is, I don't know where you are, go to your library or your local historical society and see if you can research. If your house is an old house, it may well be haunted. You might be able to find something, your local newspaper, something about the history of that house.
Yeah, like, and I'm also trying to convince them because my parents don't believe me that there's anything wrong with it. They say it's just my childlike imagination. So.
Well, let me
Yeah, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Believe me, when I was younger, my dad used those UFO books, so I know what you're going through. Which always amazing because my mother was big into astrology, but my father did not approve my interest in the paranormal. Just stand your ground. You're saying, look, just because I'm 10 does not mean what I'm saying has no validity. You shouldn't be hearing noises in your attic unless your rafters are settling from the foundation settling, and all houses settle with the weight, but they don't settle that much. You shouldn't be seeing shadow people running around near your television. You know, and flashes of light. None of that is normal unless your TV is defective. You know,
haunted TVs. I've been there.
Hey, you remember Poltergeist? That TV was definitely haunted. I wouldn't watch that movie. My friend tried to get me to watch for years. It creeped me out. So the other thing, you might see if there's a paranormal society in your area on the web and they might have information on this. But tell your parents, look, I'm hearing these things when you're not here. And you need to go get someone to look into this because it's scaring the hell out of me, or it's at least bothering me, and it's screwing up my TV watching too. You know, people think because children say these things, oh, you're just having an imaginary playmate, or you're imagining some monster into the bed or monster in the closet, and I'm not using the right term probably. But they think because you're young, you're stupid. And I've heard a lot of kids calling talk shows, they are brilliant. And they are not dumb children at all, just because adults think that their opinion means nothing.
Yeah.
So
another that I kind of had a little bit of a question about, you kind of mentioned it, but like,
can you speak up a little, because I can sorry to interrupt, I can barely hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, thank you. That's better.
Okay. Well, once we moved into the house, I have a 3-year-old little brother, and he got an imaginary friend once we moved into the house, and I didn't know, it might just be him getting an imaginary friend, but he's never had one before, so I thought that was a little...
Well, frequently the imaginary friend will turn out to be a spirit or a haunting. It's not just something the kid makes up. Children can see, like pets can see, things that adults can't. And my readings on this are children, until they hit puberty, are somehow attuned to these frequencies that adults can't see. Maybe it's because we filter it out once we become more rational or hit puberty or something, I don't know. But kids and pets can see things that other people can't. So your brother's imaginary friend may be quite real and not just, I've made up this friend to talk to. someone could have died in those areas or in that house, and you don't know that they're not still haunting the house. That's something your parents may not have thought of. I don't know. Is it a new house or an old house?
It's an older house.
How old?
Do you know
Or do
how
you
old
know?
the house
Do you
is,
know,
caller?
is it something that's been built in the last 50 years, or maybe is it older than that?
It could be around. I'm pretty sure it's around like 100 some. It's old house, I know.
Have,
Well, that's
caller,
100 years old, and you've probably got visitors from
we don't want to
beyond this plane.
We don't want to
a lot
scare
of old
the girl.
houses are haunted. Not trying to
Yeah.
scare you, but and something that old, somebody somewhere in your area is going to have a history of that house. Because unfortunately, I don't know about Australia or where Curtis lives. We have a bad habit of tearing down beautiful old houses to build an ugly ball or ticky-tack condos. We don't preserve our history. But
They become parking lots here.
A house that old, frequently someone died, someone was, God forbid, murdered. You could have 100 years, depending on where you live. There could have been slaves in there, Underground Railroad. There could have been, who knows what the history of the house is. But I would go and, investigate that on your own. Look on the web, wherever you live, and there's certain to be some history of that house. The library and your local historical society should have some information on if it's that old.
Yeah, let's move on. Thanks, caller, for giving us a call. But we've got a bunch of other people backing up here. Definitely keep us up and let us know how this, if your parents finally understand and see what's happening. Do you guys have anything else here before we move on?
No, if we've got other callers, I think we should move on. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, next caller. You are on the air. State your name and your question or comment for George.
Yeah, my name is Big D.
Hey, Big D.
Yeah, I'd like to know what George's opinion about Bigfoot. Do they really exist? If they do, what type of climates do they live in besides the rumored of Washington State? But they live like in California, like in Southern California, or just in Northern California, or even Australia?
Well, Judge Mendez told me they have their own version there, the Erie or something like that. But
The Yowie.
we have Yowie. Sorry, we have Bigfoot all over the U.S., Canada. I don't know what Mexico. The Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, the swamp creature. It goes by multiple names depending on where you are. I think there's something there. But nobody has ever, to best of my knowledge, I've watched dozens of videos on YouTube. I've watched a lot of paranormal programs, from sightings to unsolved mysteries to In Search Of. I haven't seen any proof that the thing's out there, because they're always grainy and fuzzy. When someone brings a clear...
Do you think they live in like the desert, like the Sonora Desert, like in Arizona, or Mojave Desert here in California? Do you think they live in the desert, since they are kind of
Bigfoots usually hang around trees. They're big on being in forests. I have to admit, lack of knowledge of Bigfoot in the desert, but usually they're around trees and wooded areas, and that's. I found, it's an aside, the late actress Carol Wayne was in a movie with Bigfoot, called Bigfoot, and she's grabbed by the Bigfoot, and that was like 1971. So the interest is there, even with cheesy B movies. They're making movies about Bigfoot, dragging off comely young women. But these things have been seen by the American Indians for hundreds of years before the white man ever got here. There's something going on, but what are they? And some think, because one minute you'll see a Bigfoot and they'll send a party and look for it, and it's gone, or it winks out of existence. That they might live in another dimensional plane, or there might be a window to another dimension that they leave. This is why you don't see Bigfoot. Also, Chupacabra does this. They disappear. And these things may come from somewhere else, pop in for whatever reason, and then they go back. Because so far, nobody that I can determine, there was a big hoax a while back on, I don't remember if it was Nori or Upno, about the guy with the Bigfoot in his freezer that he shot. But we never see clear pictures of these guys. And that's what I'm waiting for. When you get me a shot that it doesn't look like Vaseline smeared on a lens, then I'll believe that what people are showing me on video is actually happening. I think people are seeing them, but I can't tell you what they are. They could be a form of man that we don't know anything about, too. But
could it be a GMO human?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. If they were genetically modified creatures, I think they would have been genetically modified creatures. An ape, or there's another thing they call one a skunk ape because it puts off the odor of a skunk. That's another one that's seen across the country in various areas. Some there have been UFO sightings associated with Bigfoot. So that's another thing. They could be tied in with the aliens. But
I'll save my story for another time, but I've seen what was either a Bigfoot or a dog man back in the country of Indiana, in southern Indiana.
No, tell it now. That's what we're here for. People want to know.
Well, it starts with me being a teenager. I was 17 years old, and like every town that has any claim of haunted places, there was a spot that. Sorry, I just saw a message about a train, like something paranormal happening. Like I was just told that there was a sound of a train whistle playing in the background, and it kind of made me stop because I remember the last episode. But anyway, so there's this point in my hometown called Devil's Point. Do you guys have something like that out in your area?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of areas have a Devil's Point of some kind or not. I don't think we have one here, but...
Okay, so me and my friends in high school, we go to ours, and from there, what you're supposed to do, and it's out in the middle of the country, there's this one country road that goes through this field, and you're supposed to stop. There's that sound.
What was that?
What was that sound? Was that you,
cowbell?
Okay. Well, anyway, of course, that we start getting paranormal stuff when I tell my story.
The haunted cowbell.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, at this Devil's Point, what you're supposed to do is, in the middle of nowhere, you stop your car, honk your horn 3 times, flash your lights 3 times, and you'll see eyes out in the distance that come towards you. And if you wait long enough for the eyes to get all the way to you, it's too late. There's the devil. He's got you. So we decided we're going to go out there, and I tell my friends, we're driving my car. I tell them, I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to stare the devil in the eyes. I'm going to laugh at him. That's my plan. So we go the first time, and we get there, and it's totally, like, late at night, probably 10 or 11 at that point, and we park. It's super dark. We flash the lights, honk the horn, and we wait. And then after maybe 2 minutes, right before we're deciding to give up on this scam of a paranormal place, we see lights in the distance that look like eyes, and they start to get bigger and bigger. And before they probably got, I don't know, 10 feet of movement from where they started, we freaked out and left. So as I'm driving, leaving in my car, we go down this winding road, and I see headlights show up behind me. And so I think, okay, this must be the next person coming up. So I stop my car because we decide we're going to wait and see what they do. And the headlights go out, nothing happens, and they never turn back on. So then we finally get bored with it and leave. And I go back and tell a larger group of friends about it, and they laugh at us and say, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And so we go back. We wait several hours, don't tell anybody. So now it's past midnight at this point, and we go back out, and we're going to solve the mystery of this thing. This time, for some reason, I decide I'm not going to drive. One of my friends is driving my car, and I'm sitting in the back seat. And what is that?
Did I just hear that? Did you just hear that?
Yeah, that was weird. Okay, anyway, while we're sitting there, I get out of the car, and I'm watching, and of course I do the thing where I tell my friends, it's coming to get me, but nothing's happening. And finally, I get back in the car, and we realize we figure out the mystery of it. As your eyes adjust to the light, there's a barn in the distance that has a big light at it. So you flashed your headlights and caused your eyes to adjust to that out in this pitch black. So as they refocus, they focus on that light in the distance, and so it gets bigger and brighter over time until it gets to you, or until your eyes fully adjust, and it seems like the light moved. So we figure it out. We start laughing. We're like, okay, this is nothing. Let's leave. So we go to leave, and just like the first time, there's headlights show up behind us, and it's a car. I mean, it's no doubt that this is actually a vehicle moving. Like, the headlights are moving with it. So this time I'm annoyed. Like, who followed us? We didn't tell anyone we're coming out here. So I tell my friend to stop the car, that I'm going to sneak out, and I'm going to catch these people once they try to pull up on us and scare us. So we wait and wait. Nothing happens. The car never turns back on, or the lights never turn back on.
What is going?
All aboard. Is that the caller doing that?
I think so. I think you need to disconnect.
It's not me.
Okay, if I hear it again, then I'm going to have to drop you. But I want you to stay at the end of the story since it relates to your call. So anyway, the car never starts back up, and my friends are ready to go. They say, okay, we're done with this. Not long before that, I'm sitting in the back seat, and I'm looking out into an empty field, and I start to hear the sound of rustling, and then all of a sudden, out from the field comes this, standing as tall as a man, this full-size dog-faced or werewolf-looking thing. Like a werewolf, I don't think of being as big as a full-grown man, like a football player, but this was that big and had the face of a dog and just demon eyes, red, crazy eyes, and it's staring right at me. The thing jumps on the back of my car to where its face is right beside me in the back seat, looking out the back, and I scream. I know I'm dead. I know there's no way I'm going to survive this thing. So I just scream like crazy. That freaks my friend out, who felt the car shake, and he just hits the gas to leave. And then I hear the thump of something jump off the car, and we just hightail it out of there at full speed. And then we end up, as we're just trying to get out of the area, my friend ultimately gets pulled over by the police because he's speeding to get away. And they ask us what we're doing, and I'm like so freaked out, I'm like laughing. And the police officer thinks we'd been drinking, which we hadn't been at that point. I definitely drank afterwards, but it was the craziest thing. I mean, this thing was just between the glass and me is how far the face of this dog man was. It was crazy.
Well, I have read of accounts of this sort of thing happening to other people in other cars, where something attacks their car, something creepy with glowing red eyes. So there may be a lot of these things wandering around.
Yeah, it's
personally, if I hear something is the devil, I'm not going out there.
Right. Well,
I'm not going to take the chance,
Right.
You might become perfectly possessed too,
What was Curtis? What was the urban legend surrounding this sighting? That what would happen if you encountered this being?
Well, the whole thing was about the devil being there. There was I never had heard any talk of a dog man being there. I'd never even heard of one before. That's why I say werewolf was the closest thing I could come up with, but it wasn't exactly like you think of a werewolf either. Like, I thought of Bigfoot first. That's the first thought that went in my head, like Bigfoot with a dog's face, or like a wolf's face. And the point there was to see the eyes of the devil were supposed to like peer into your soul. And I mean, like I said, that turned out to be completely just made up story of kids. But I think it just worked out that we happened to go at the area at the right time.
Yeah, but the glowing red eyes, that's something demonology, or that's some kind of demon thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's
as I've looked up stories about them, a lot of people who talk about dogmen say that they have yellow eyes, and I remember the red eyes. I even Art Bell's show, he read some questions from me when he had an expert in those on the show.
That's cool.
So was has your life been negatively affected by this encounter? I mean, you are doing a podcast with George now, but yeah, what's happened? What was the fallout for it?
My girlfriend left me. That was one thing. Because first thing I do afterwards is I'm freaked out, and I go back and go to tell her, and she thinks I'm a complete idiot at that point. Which is ironic, because I grew up in a haunted house that actually had a preacher die in it, and my next door neighbor has had a movie about their haunted house, and she wrote a book about it too. So, like, there's a lot of paranormal stuff in my little hometown that I grew up in.
I can tell you about my adventures with the so-called Bigfoot sighting. This has happened back in the early '80s.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because I was camping up in Northern California, up near in Humboldt County, and with my family, and so it was like middle of the night. The time I had to go to the restroom. This is all where the redwoods are at. So I go water a tree, and I saw something in the distance. I said, "Oh shit, there's a Bigfoot out there." I thought. And it scared the crap out of me. And I told my parents, I said, "Oh no, it's not Bigfoot. They don't exist. There's stuff, blah blah blah." But I believe this because I saw what looked like a Bigfoot. About a few weeks later, I got back home and I saw the trailers for Star Wars. They happened to be filming Star Wars: Return of the Jedi up in that area, and I saw Chewbacca. I thought it was really? Bigfoot.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What part of the country are you from?
I'm from Northern California originally, but because of my work, I kind of go over the place. So there's a creature out that. There's a creature out that way. I heard this on a broadcast once, but I can't remember the name of it. Something monster. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it at the moment. If I think about it, I'll let you know. Okay. Something monster. I can't remember. Might have started with an S. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't get to my Bigfoot books right now. I go look it up. I've got stuff blocking the access to the living room window, but there are towns in California, Oregon, and Washington. They actually have Bigfoot festivals and Bigfoot statues. So it's a big, not only a paranormal thing, but a tourist industry about Bigfoot. So this is why I'm convinced that the thing exists. The question is, what is it? Yeah, if I'd seen Chewbacca 30 years ago when I was a kid, I probably would have thought it was a Bigfoot too.
Yeah, thank you for that story, caller. Let's we got some other people calling here.
I guess I'll let you guys go. I'm going to continue listening to the show online. So keep up the good work, gentlemen, and I'll talk to you at the next show.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Big D.
All right, let's move on to our next caller. Caller, you are on the air. State your name and your question or comment for George.
Yeah, my name is Mike, and it's kind of a long story, but I can make it real short. I collect collectibles, and I had purchased this set of coins on eBay, and it was an old cigar box from like 80 years ago, and the person that had owned it, it was their great-grandfather. Well, to make the whole story short, me and my family was in the kitchen one day, and we heard like a loud sound in the bedroom, and the windows were shut, the door was shut, the coins was on the middle of the dresser. Well, when I had went in the room, the coins were scattered everywhere, and under the bed there was a handful of coins that was all the same year. And my question is the reason I was calling is to get advice, but the person who had shipped these coins, they had shipped these coins in a package, and I had all these strange things happen since I had got them, and I got rid of the coins, and there were still strange things happening. Like I still have, like they were wrapped in like these shorts and packaging. So I don't know if I need to get rid of the packaging and everything that it was in. Maybe there's some kind of something weird going on with it. But I just wanted to see your all's opinion.
You said they were wrapped in shorts, like ones you wear?
Well, I mean, they were in normal, there was peanuts and bubble wrap, and they were in, normal packaging, and there was nothing strange about it at all, except what you just said there. There was
well, the problem with haunted objects is frequently just getting rid of the object doesn't get rid of the thing that's haunting it. So they may attach themselves to your home or to you, and you're going to have somebody professional get that thing out of there. Coins flying across the room is not normal. It's just...
Well, I mean, what was weird is, it's not... People say, well, maybe the wind blew them off your dresser. Well, the wind would have to be strong, and the window was shut. And I said, well, maybe your cat did it. Well, the door was shut, and even if the cat was in there, I've not saw a cat that can sort coins all the same year under the bed. Like, they were scattered everywhere, but why was just a handful of that certain year under the bed?
Yeah, there's no cat coin collectors. I've had cats for 37 years. They'll play with things on the floor, but not separate them by year or denomination. Frequently, some things on eBay, people will tell you they're haunted. Some people won't tell you they're haunted. They want to get rid of them. That's why they're selling them. There have been demon-possessed dolls and haunted dolls and creepy dolls that people sell with a warning. And you may have gotten something that somebody wanted to get rid of, and you bought it, and now you're stuck with it. So I would investigate that and try to get some paranormal group in there to maybe check your house out and see if you've got something now inhabiting your house, because that's strange. It would wind up under the bed and sorted by year. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
But do you, do you think it's where I still have possession of the packaging materials if they were thrown away?
I would maybe make a copy of the packaging, the address and stuff, so you can remember where it came from. But I would probably burn that packaging. I wouldn't just throw it in the trash, because frequently you'll throw something that even it came in away, and it can things have come back. So if the coins are haunted, the packaging may have picked up some of that energy too. I would dispose that somehow, so it doesn't return to you. And then maybe that
could you take it to a church? Would that be a safe place?
That's another thing. The problem is that a lot of priests are going to look at you like, I don't do this. They're not into the paranormal exorcisms. I don't know enough about. I know about the Catholic Church, but what they do in a case like this, individual priests, individual parishes, you're going to have to find someone who's attuned to this and willing to accept it to help you out. That's the problem. Some priests will say it's all, in your mind, or you need psychiatric help or something.
A lot of people would think, you're just making stuff up, but, everybody was in the kitchen and they all heard the sound of, coins, the sound of coins whenever it's what it sounded like. It was super loud. And, so people around here can't say, full of it, because we all heard it.
Can I ask what kind of coins were they and how old they were?
Well, they were everything from Morgan dollars to seated Liberty coins. There was a lot of 1880s and 90s Morgan dollars, but the coins that was scattered. I mean, they were scattered everywhere, but under the bed, I don't remember exactly what the number. I think it was 6 coins that was under the bed, and they were all the year 1866, and they were all Mormon dollars.
That's Civil War era. There may be something tied to those coins for some reason.
Caller, where did you get these coins? Did you say?
On eBay. eBay.
Oh, eBay. You didn't find them in a pawn shop in Martinez, California?
No.
I bought them. I bought them on eBay, and this was a small wallet. This person had collected their whole life, and they had passed away, and their family was selling them.
There are some antique dealers here that sell silver, but to the best of my knowledge and talking to them over the last 11 years, I've not seen anybody selling any haunted coins here, or in the coin dealer down the street from me, or at Pleasant Hill Coin and Gold Exchange. So I know a lot of the coin dealers around here.
Here's the question, George. If a coin dealer were to tell you they had haunted coins, would you want those?
I don't know. The paranormal part of me says, this would be interesting. The part of me that says, do I want this in my house, would say, I better not.
Right.
That's the problem.
Caller, have these things done anything to hurt you or negatively affect your life in any way, besides freaking you out?
No, that's the only thing that ever, that's the only thing that has happened. It's just those coins were scattered in the certain years under the bed in the same spot, and sometimes we hear like the creaking of a door, but I mean, there's nothing else that's happened.
And you haven't had any noises you said you disposed the coins. You haven't had any noises of ethereal coins going under the bed or across the room since, have you?
No, but we hear we've heard like a door, like a creaking sound from a door before. Since then.
That's a door that no one's moving. It just does it by itself.
Well, that's the thing. None of the doors here sound like they're creaking and need greased or oiled. I mean, it's not. There's none here that would sound like that.
I don't know what to tell you on that. I get weird noises in this apartment late at night, but I don't know what they are. Sometimes just weird thumpings and stuff. I don't have a neighbor above me anymore right now. She died, so no, it can't be her. But
I guess my other question is, wouldn't that strike you strange if you purchased these on eBay? And I mean, they didn't say they were haunted or nothing. They just said they were selling them. They were their great grandfathers. But wouldn't that strike you strange that they were shipped? And I mean, it looked professionally shipped. The peanuts and the bubble wrap and all that. But why? I mean, why would the shorts be duct taped around the cigar box? That doesn't make no sense.
Well, I'm trying to still understand. This is a pair of shorts, like swim trunks or shorts you wear?
Yeah, like they were just shorts. Like
that's a kind of a strange thing to wrap around a box of coins.
They weren't.
I mean, I've bought coins on eBay. I've bought coins from my coin dealer. Nobody had the Bermuda shorts wrapped around the box.
Well, I mean, I've purchased many too. I've never had that happen, except that.
Maybe the guy had to have the shorts. Maybe the shorts were cursed, and not the coins.
Well,
he had to get rid of the shorts. I would get rid of those shorts.
I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I've never had that. I don't know what. I've had tons of coins shipped to me, and I've never had someone do that.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. If you've gotten rid of the coins and other than the creaking, if you're not experiencing anything else, you might have some poltergeist activity or haunted activity. If it's not going on now, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I would. The first step I would do, here's my advice for you, and I'm definitely not an expert in paranormal, or at least in hauntings, is the shorts, I'd wash them on a cold
thoroughly.
Yes, thoroughly. I would use some strong detergent, and I wouldn't dry them in a dryer. I would dry them outside, like on a clothesline. That gives a chance for any kind of negative spirits to go out, and then maybe you'll find out that George is correct, that the shorts were the problem from the beginning.
The haunted shorts that we have started a whole new paranormal legend.
Right.
It
Passed
sounds-
down from.
They look, I mean, to be honest, they don't need, they look like they need cleaning. They're all just, they're like holy. There's all kinds of holes in them, and they're like this reddish colored shorts. They kind of got an odor to them.
Well, I tell you what, no ghost likes to have dirty, holy shorts, so...
Yeah, maybe this is like that Friday the 13th show where the guy had haunted items, cursed items, the cursed shorts. Moth-eaten shorts that go from owner to owner. They can never get rid of them. They keep coming back, and maybe they won't wash. Wouldn't that be weird if you wash them and they wouldn't get clean?
Yeah,
that'd be kind of creepy.
That would be the moth shorts process.
Yeah, what's the official detergent for haunted shorts? Tide, Arm & Hammer,
OxyClean, yes, that's what I was thinking.
OxyClean, yeah. Hey, yeah, that's another thing. If Billy May shows up, you got real problems. He's dead, Billy May for OxyClean, That guy comes back and wants to wash your shorts. It's time to move. Let's move on to the next caller.
Yes, we've got another
Thanks
caller.
for accepting my call. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for calling.
That was good. That was a great call. Thank you. Sounds like he has an OCD ghost on his hands.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, our next caller, area code 716. You are on the line. Give us your name and your question or comment.
Hi, this is Tanika from Tonawanda. Who am I talking to? Is this George?
This is not
Yes,
George?
it is.
That is George.
Hi, George. I need your advice. I run a paranormal home here in Tonawanda. And what we do is all kind of people come. Everybody can practice whatever they like to practice. They have seances. We have tarot card readers. All kinds of things going on, but primarily what we do is we try to counsel each other. And the main problem that we have, and what I'm seeking your advice on, George, if you don't mind, is how do you determine if someone is actually having a paranormal experience or if they're just plain nuts? And if you do think they're nuts when you're counseling them, should you tell them, or should you just sit there and listen like you believe their story? And I'll listen off the air. Thank you very much, George, for your time and your help.
Thank you. Bear with me for one moment. I moved my leg and got a cramp in my left leg. Just give me 1 second. That did not feel good. I wonder what causes those. Well, I wouldn't call anybody necessarily nuts or crazy if they tell you they have a paranormal thing going on in their life. You have to be willing to accept what they're saying and draw your own conclusions. Now, some things you can weigh the evidence. If their story is consistent, that's more believable than if it goes all over the place. But without actually talking to the person, there's no way I can say this on the radio. If you've got a whole bunch of paranormal people showing up at your home or whatever venue you're doing this in, then you should be able to draw on those experiences and make your own conclusions. But there's no way to determine this. I would never call anybody. I've seen people who are mentally ill on my street in front of my building. They're mentally ill, but they're not paranormally mentally ill. And I'm reluctant to say someone's nuts. I don't like the use of the word unless they're acting crazy and not screaming, "You're all out to get me." And I had a guy in a bus the other night. He goes, "You're looking at me and I'm going to kill you. You can count on it." I'm going, okay, but this is riding the bus. Another reason why I want my own car.
Right.
There's crazies on the bus.
Well, and I think there's saying out, like you just said, like crazies on the bus. Crazy is kind of like just a generic term for someone who's freaking you out versus someone is actually crazy, which requires to have a PhD.
We had a guy last week, and he's in front of the building, young guy with a goatee, and he's screaming, "You're out to get me. I'm not going to let you do it." He sounded like McCoy in City on the Edge Forever.
Mm-hmm.
tried to call the cops. The line, I've never had the police line busy in the middle of the day. It was busy. They shut up the guy in a matter of the time it took the cops to get here. They're 2 blocks away. The guy disappeared, but you could still hear him screaming. It was very strange.
That's weird.
But there's a guy who's mentally ill, and we're seeing, sadly, I talked this over with my assistant manager today. There are more and more mentally ill young people. I think it's drugs. I think their brains, we have a guy living in the building, his brain's been destroyed by drugs. And their brains get destroyed by crack or whatever it is. Or they're mentally ill, they're not getting treatment, they're not taking their medications, and they go into these screaming rages, and it's very scary. But they need help, and that's the thing. But someone telling you a story, I saw this, I experienced this, like Curtis with his dog thing, that's fascinating to me. I wouldn't call him nuts, but the person not into the paranormal is going to say, oh, you're full of it, you're crazy, I don't want to hear it, go away. And we're more acceptable to this because we've experienced this kind of event, and we know that something is happening that is not normal. If I go to Safeway to buy groceries, I don't expect to see a haunted cashier, a ghost cashier in front of me. And if I do, then I'm going to be a little freaked out. So, but I'm being facetious, but the mundane out there, and that's the majority of people who are not into the paranormal, tarot, astrology, divination, they're not Wiccans, they're not, spiritualists or anything like that. They're not into UFOs, Bigfoot, Chupacabra, whatever it is in the paranormal. They're going to dismiss this as crazy talk, and you have to draw your own conclusions, but there's enough evidence out there that things happen. The question is, what is it? I firmly believe in ghosts. I firmly believe that UFOs are some phenomenon. I do not believe, as some say, they're rods or creatures flying in the sky that have been here for thousands of years. I think there's actually visitation here to this planet by aliens. There's enough evidence. People have seen too much to be made out of whole cloth. But if someone tells you a paranormal story, then you have to weigh how plausible is this and what evidence or background, like the child with the haunted house, what's the background of this person's story, and then take it from there. I don't dismiss people out of hand. I've had people tell me weird stuff. I have one guy here in town, he tells me the CIA has stopped him from reporting UFOs, but he claims that aliens are visiting him, and I think he's not well because his stories are inconsistent and just unbelievable, because I've sat with the guy a number of times. He's a likable guy, but I don't think he's telling the truth. So,
what percentage of reports of paranormal can be attributed to mental illness? Do you think that would be a high percent, or?
I think it's more likely to be a low percent, because most people, it's like reporting UFOs. They're reluctant to report this because of derision. Look at when you have a UFO convention. Every time the news, this weekend in San Jose, there's a UFO convention, ha 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 ha. You get ridicule. And so people do not speak up. If someone's frightened enough to speak up, they're having something seriously going on that they finally say, I have to tell somebody because it's driving me crazy. And I'm not saying crazy, they're nuts. They can't keep it to themselves anymore because it's so disturbing them. They have to discuss it with somebody in the field. And that's why we have, I've got 500 books on the paranormal. That's why people are writing books. Every time I get on Amazon or eBay, there's new books out. Something is happening. We have areas in this country that are psychic areas. San Francisco, New Orleans, New York, Chicago. Things happen in areas of those cities, and I'm sure you've got them in Australia, and Curtis has them.
Well, I read an article on midnightinthedesert.com about UFO sightings hitting an all-time high just recently. So, yeah, there's definitely something going on in our skies. And we've got another caller on the air. Caller, go ahead. What's your name and what's your question or comment?
Hey, guys, it's Wild Card. Faulky, I don't know. Have you ever told the story about the Black House?
The what?
The Black House.
Didn't you spend the night in Anton LaVey's house?
I spent some time in there, but nothing.
Somebody else.
No, I spent some time in there as a. I can't give you the exact date because I don't remember. No, it was not an acolyte. Look, I'm one of these people that I meet people and I start talking to them like I'm doing now. Hi, how you doing? What do you do? Right. I met Anton LaVey. I got invited to his house and I spent an evening in there and was left alone in there and just sat there and read my book till he came back and I went home. Nothing happened. I saw the altar and I talked to him and all
had a
of that.
hell of a library.
Huh?
You didn't read his books? He probably had a hell of a library. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, but you don't.
Was on
you
his
don't.
Bookshelf.
You don't do that. We talked about the Church of Satan and his rituals and all of that. But you don't go into somebody else's house, their rooms, their study, their library, their bedroom without permission.
Yeah, no, I hear
you. And I wasn't going to go around being the Snoop sister and start snooping around his house.
I would have thought he would have showed you stuff. Like, did he show you anything?
No, because we weren't into him. I wasn't taking a tour. I was chatting with him.
Okay. So tell me what you talked about.
Just stuff about relating to the Church of Satan.
Like what?
And I just told you, the altar, the rituals, the services he had. But this has been... You're interrupting, White Crow, and if you don't stop, I'm going to have you hang up on you. Please do not do that.
I think it's wild.
Please.
It's wild card.
Don't flesh me.
Oh, wild card. Okay.
Same deal.
We just talked about... Okay, Faulky. Hang up on him, please. Hang up on him, please. I can't deal with this. If I can't speak without interruption, there's no point in talking.
Wildcard, could you? We're going to have to hang up on you in a moment. If you just let George speak, and then you can come back and speak. Otherwise, there's nothing we can do. Okay, sorry, Wildcard.
All right. Anton LaVey was a well-known figure in the Bay Area, and I went to his house. He invited me there. There were people that knew him, but this is 50 years ago or so. We chatted about, I saw the altar, the black candles, where he had nude women, and they had the rituals and the services, but specifically what we talked about as to details, I don't really remember because I was a young kid. It was interesting. He went out. There was nobody in the house but me, and I sat there and read my books and did my homework. I was about 14 or so, or 15. I don't remember. But the house has long been torn down and replaced by a condo, so I can't even describe the house because it doesn't exist. He had black. All the windows were covered in black. The window and the door was covered in black. And the house was painted black, as I recall. But
to keep people from prying at what's going on inside?
I think a little bit of that, a little bit of make it creepy. But, he seemed to be a rather regular person. There was no fear in my mind of, I'm in this creepy Church of Satan and something, I'm going to be sacrificed to Satan or anything like that. But we didn't talk that long. It was an hour or two, and then he had to go out, and he came back, and I went home. But I wound up in places that I just was looking at a site the other night in Marin County. Some volunteers have built and restored a Nike missile base, which was to fend off nuclear attack from Russian missiles. Well, a bunch of us went into that base when it was active, and we got into trouble. We were kids. And we got into the control center through a hole in the fence, and they called my father. So I got into stuff that I shouldn't have been doing, but I did it because we were all curious. And meeting someone like, he had been on KGO radio on talk shows like this one a number of times, and I found him, and it's before Jane Mansfield, where he's involved with her, but he was an interesting person to talk to.
We've got our caller back on the line too.
So,
I believe this is the same caller. Are you there?
Oh, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I'd rather not.
Let's say if he gives a chance to, let each side talk a little bit, if that's all right. And I mean, you're in control, George. So if you want to drop it, I will.
I'd rather drop it, but it's a 50-year-old conversation. I'm not going to mention specifics other than we talked, and he showed me his altar area. There were black candles there. This is where, the Bay Area news media there's video, I'm sure, somewhere of his black masses and all of that. And I saw the Satanic Bible. You can get those on Amazon or eBay long before, he was giving those out or selling them. So, and he had black robes, he had a goatee and bald head and all that. So, but I never went further than the entry and into the altar area because I sat there being a good kid. I wasn't going to snoop around a man's house. It wasn't my house.
So if you could do the same thing now, what would you do differently?
I would ask him a lot of pointed questions. I'd take notes. Can you show me the rest of your house? Can you have a paranormal library or a not satanic library, a library of things related to Satanism and the paranormal, and it'd be a whole different thing. But when you're a young kid, you don't know how to ask these questions. It's just interesting. It's like Donald Keogh, when I knew him with NICAP, we talked about UFO sightings and different things, and I correspond with Jim and Coral Lawrenson of APRO, and the Amalgamated Flying Saucer Clubs of America. The local chapter in Reno, I corresponded with him. He showed me photographs. The national chapter with, I can't remember his name now after 40 years. I was big into UFOs. Even at a young age. And I called Ira Blue because he used to have UFO reports long before anybody in the Bay Area he was the only one in the Bay Area taking UFO calls late at night on KGO. So, but now with the experience and knowledge I have, it'd be a whole different thing. If I met an Anton Sandler LaVey type today, I'd be practically interviewing him if he would allow an interview. I wouldn't, but I still wouldn't go wander around through his library. I would be fascinated to see such a thing today because I'm into books, even if I wasn't into the paranormal. And, wow, you got a lot of books. So what do you got here?
Right. We've got another caller.
So,
let's go ahead and pick this one up here. Caller, you are on the air. State your name and your question or comment.
Hi, my name's Peter. George, love the show. Found you about a week or two ago. I just got on the show, so I don't know what you've been talking about, but I was wondering, you're big into aliens and things like that. Say like we have been visited by aliens since, the 1940s or whatever, and the government has been, like, covering it up. I guess I was just kind of wondering, like, what do you think, like, why wouldn't the aliens themselves just kind of, like, reveal themselves to the general public, or I guess what's your thoughts on that, if that made any sense?
Well, the books I have and also the numerous websites I've gone to, one book and several sites say there could be as many as 58, and I've read as many as 85 different races visiting this planet. And the agenda of some is not the agenda of others. The Nordics are friendly. The reptilians or not. The Greys harvest fluids from our bodies. They harvest our animals and take fluids from them. Look at the mutilated cattle, horses, sheep. We've even found in Southern California and Central California, and it saddens me. I love animals. I love pets. They have found cats and dogs cut in half and their blood drained. That's creepy. So I think they're not revealing themselves. There may be, for all we know, a cosmic prime directive. We can't reveal our presence to people officially. So they contact individuals. And the problem with contacting individuals is a certain percentage of people, without any hard evidence, a close encounter of the fourth kind with physical evidence, people are not going to be believed. It's just another story. Whereas the government, supposedly, in Aztec, New Mexico, and other places, there's complexes there. We've had battles with aliens, according to some. I think John Lear's talked about that, where we made an agreement under Eisenhower to work with the aliens to get their technology, and they got our bodies to get their fluids out of it. And then one day they revolted, and we had to fight them. So who knows what the hell is going on? I don't. I just read all this stuff, and then the other thing is, of course, the skeptic will say, well, you have interstellar distances, how are they going to get here? And I'm going, well, how do we know they're not on the moon? I just read a story last night. It's not about UFOs, but it might have been Aldrin. One of the Apollo astronauts was walking on the moon, and he had a rod he had to put into a device to do some task on the moon, and he could not remember what he did, put this rod in the right slot. And he thought of Jesus, and suddenly he said Jesus talked to him, and he was able to perform the function and get the test, the thing he had to do done. And he, after he stopped being an astronaut, he went around and talked about Jesus and everything else. So he had some kind of revelation on the moon. So, but according to some, the reason we didn't go back to the moon, there's bases on the other side of the moon. That could well be possible. We don't know if they've been here for 100,000 years, and they're monitoring us for some reason. And we could be under, for all we know, some kind of cosmic, I can't think of the word, embargo, where we're not allowed to go into deep space because we're too dangerous. We're too warlike. So I don't know.
I don't know anything about, I love reading about science and stuff, but I always wondered, how come the moon doesn't, rotate? It revolves around us, but it doesn't actually spin. I always thought that was kind of strange. I don't know.
Well, there are some that say the moon was an asteroid that broke off, or a piece of the Earth that broke off when the Earth was forming, or I've read that it's actually a planetoid that came from somewhere else and got caught in our gravity. Who knows what the moon is? The moon is a strange thing. It shouldn't, by all rights and everything I've read scientifically, we shouldn't have a moon. It shouldn't be there, and it is. The question is why. But I'm not a planetary scientist. I can't explain it, and I dabble in it a little bit. It's one of the things. I ever go back to college, I've got to take an astronomy course as one of my required courses, and then I'll ask the questions about, tell me about the moon and why do we have it and should it be there and all of that. If if I had contact with some of the science fiction writers I know, which I don't have right now, the only one I know personally that I could contact is Jerry Pournelle. Why is the moon there? Why is it? Certain things about it are strange. There are certain moons of Mars and things that I understand shouldn't be there either. So we have some anomalies in our solar system that shouldn't exist and are there. And I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, we got another caller on the line. Caller, state your name and your question or comment.
Eugene?
Eugene, what would you like to talk to George about tonight?
Why did you steal your dead mother's credit card, and why did you kill your father?
All right, goodbye. You know what? Go to hell. I did not kill my father, and I did not steal my mother's credit card. I was authorized to use my mother's credit card by my mother before she died.
All right.
So don't bring that up again.
Let's try to cleanse the palate of that one and go to another call. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and question or comment?
Yes, I'm Anton LaVey. What the fuck are you talking, bitch? Fucking bullshit.
Thank you for your intelligent call. Goodbye.
That was
next
Anton.
call.
Okay, yeah. That's the end of our line of callers. We had a pretty good queue built up there. Do you have anything? I think we probably should wrap up. Anything you want to talk about before we?
No, I just, I would like to address that one call. My father was an alcoholic. He was an abusive alcoholic. He had been in the Army for years. I was watching NCS. They talked about this. My father had post-traumatic shock syndrome, shell shock. He had been in combat in Korea and in World War II. And we found out he had, other medical issues, and he would go into rages. And what they're talking about, I did not kill my father. I was 390 miles away when my father died. He died in a bathtub. He got drunk. The doctors that led him in Army hospital said, if you drink anymore, you're going to die. And he was taking a bath, had a massive heart attack, and slipped under the water. And if the heart attack hadn't killed him, he would have drowned. So I wasn't anywhere near him when he died. And I went into shock the night I was told he was dead. And that affected me for several years. Before I had moved out of my parents' apartment, he got drunk one night and physically was strangling my mother. And I had to literally beat on him. He walked with 2 canes. I could not get the death grip. He went nuts and was trying to kill my mother. I could not get the death grip off of him. He would have choked her to death. I took the canes and beat him until he stopped. And I went into a rage because he had beaten me as a child. He had attacked my mother in the past. He had kicked her in the stomach at one point. She got a miscarriage. One of my brothers died because of him. So, I had big-time issues with my father, and I hated him for years, and I feared him for years. I had 40 years almost of panic attacks every year. So, but I did not kill my father. I did not kill as the, excuse my language, assholes on Surrogate said. My first adult girlfriend, she died. She probably got killed by her abusive husband. She was my girlfriend before she married this guy, and she ran from him. He'd kicked her in the stomach. She lost the baby, and saw her in the street, and she was in fear literally of her life. But my father died in San Francisco. I was in Los Angeles. And as to my mother's credit card, my mother had 23 credit cards when she died. I sat here on this couch calling every credit card company she had, and she had cards with $30,000 limits. I was authorized on 2 of them, and at various times I've been authorized on 5. And in January of the year she died, she ordered an American Express card, authorized me to use it. The housekeeper threw it away. The housekeeper was very strange. She ripped off the estate between $5,000 and $15,000, but it would cost me $100 to track back through all the bank accounts. She threw all the information away the day my mother died. I was authorized to use that credit card. I did not steal it. My mother said, go use it and get whatever you want on the credit card. So I did not steal her credit cards. At no time did I, do anything that she did not give me permission to do. And I wish people would drop this because I'm tired of hearing about it.
All right, George, we've got another call on the line. Caller, you are on the air. Hello.
Hey, George. It's Jeremy, your buddy up in Minnesota. How you doing?
Oh, how you doing?
Hey, you know what? I'm doing fantastic. First time calling in here. And
by the way, I'm
look,
curious.
I just wanted to say, great show. Huge fan. And yeah, man, it's pretty brutal that people are calling up and ripping on your deceased father, stuff like that. I just think that's kind of a low blow. And, I mean, that's your dad, man. And
well,
whatever issues you had with him, it's still your father, and it's a very sensitive subject to anybody, and I think that's lame. So
I thank you
I just wanted to get that one out there.
Your support. I had issues with my father because the man literally beat me to death, and I was terrified of him. I'm saddened that the man, the last few months of his life, he took me aside and talked to me, father and son, for the only time he did it. But I have pictures of me as a baby. He loved me when I was a little baby, but his own insanity couldn't. I don't know how to explain it yet. It's one of those, I'd have to talk to you man to man and face to face. He couldn't deal with life, and the drinking, he would just go crazy. And there are a lot of people.
He probably had some like PTSD stuff going on, I would assume, which is probably why he drank. And yeah, I mean, stuff got toxic after a while. But look, George, I didn't call in to talk about your father with you. I actually called in to talk about some paranormal stuff with you. I noticed.
Yeah, go ahead. By the way, I got to ask a question because I know Justin tells me, what's the weather like up there?
It's very cold. Not snowing, not precipitous at all, but it's definitely cold.
By the way, Justin, if you're out there, it's time to call the show.
We'll see.
Okay, go ahead.
Guys, don't talk over each other, please. One at a time.
Sorry.
George, what did you have to say? George?
No, I was just saying. Oh wait, George. Yeah, go ahead, George. Sorry.
No.
One at a time. Okay, George.
Tell your story. Go ahead. I'll shut my big mouth.
Oh yeah. So all I was saying is Minnesota weather it's cold. Nothing special. Cold as typical. I hope winter dies soon though, because obviously everything's better when it's warmer. But
I only ask because Justin lives up where you live. So what's your paranormal story? I'd be interested. I know you emailed me one, but I should have been in the bedroom to tell you about it.
Yeah, man, I was telling you some pretty crazy UFO story, but that's not really what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to bring up Nazi bases in Antarctica. And I know you posted a few articles on this, and I know that you brought this up in your videos, and this is a really interesting topic. Like, if you really think about it, it's a really interesting topic. First off, what do we know about Antarctica? It's super cold. We're told that it's a frozen iceberg. I mean, how would you really build a structure on there that can be sustained? And then, yeah, apparently there's bases on there. I just really wanted to know kind of what you know about that.
Well, there's one big problem with this whole Nazi base in Antarctica. I watched a video and read a website where they built an ice base in Greenland. Now, Greenland is owned by Denmark, and they did this in the 50s. And without telling the Danish, as we are wont to do, not we of the show or you or I, but the U.S. government, they did not tell the Danish that they were building a secret base with nuclear missiles. And the Danes said, okay, you can build this base, but no nukes. So they built this base that had hospitals, kitchens, living quarters. They even had a dog that was their mascot. And it was under the ice, and the whole story and the whole website, the video shows how they built this base, and it was designed to attack the Soviet Union. The problem is that even though you think of Greenland like Antarctica being this ice sheet, the ice starts to move after a while, and it starts shifting, and they had to abandon the base. This is a scientific fact. They discussed this at length, and so this is why I question building a base under the ice that stays there. Now, we have a base, we, the British, the French, other countries, I don't know which countries are down there. I think Canada's been down there. There are bases under the ice in Antarctica. Now, maybe it's a different kind of ice than Greenland. I don't know how we live down there. It's scientific bases. But how do you build an entire base under the Antarctic ice? And I saw something somewhere in the last couple of days, and I go like, boy, he's got to be pretty damn old by now. Hitler is still alive. And he's in Antarctica. So the other question, if the Nazis built this base in Antarctica, and you go back to Byrd and whatever the name of that operation, Admiral Byrd, whatever the name of the operation, went down there and supposedly were scared off by Nazi UFOs and there was a big battle and all that. Why haven't we seen secret weapons of Nazi super science come out? And, you know, they have not decimated our fleets, and the fleets of the British, and the fleets of the French, or the Chinese. We haven't seen any of that since the war. There's no Nazi submarines. It's like listening to that Douglas Dietrich about, you know, secret Japanese atomic weapons that made us made a deal with Japan to stop World War II. I can see no proof of that. There's a picture I saw of a UFO under the Antarctic ice, but it looks like it's been photoshopped. I don't see any evidence of it. I don't see any evidence of.
I've actually done a little bit of research into this, and yeah. So apparently there was this scientist. I believe it was Dr. Richard Allen Miller. He's kind of a cult favorite. Crazy guy, crazy like metaphysical theories, but the guy is super intelligent and just super on the in, like he knows what's going on. Well, apparently he went down to Antarctica to research these bases as part of a secret operation, right? And apparently there's, like, he goes into this kind of dilapidated structure, and there's huge tunnels that just go miles and miles and miles below the earth. And he said he was there to study bioluminescent plants growing on the walls of this of these tunnels, you know, in the base. And you think this could at all relate to, say, like Admiral Byrd's claims that, you know, there's a hole in the center of the earth and a sentient, transient race of humanoids down there that kind of control stuff on the earth?
Okay, here's the first question I have to ask. Yeah. I'm skeptical about this whole story. And Admiral Byrd finding the hole under the Antarctic and seeing, you know, the sun or whatever the hell it was down there, green grass and mountains and trees and all that.
Crazy story.
This guy went on a secret expedition. Now, why, if it's so secret, would he be telling about it? We haven't been told about Roswell. Our government has came up with 3 cover stories of Roswell, all of which are bogus. So why would this guy talk about bioluminescent plants in tunnels that go thousands of feet, hundreds of miles, whatever the hell it is, under Antarctica? Now, there are parts of Antarctica I read scientifically where they've found evidence of plants and, you know, wood. Something was down there at one time before it turned to ice. But again, I would have to ask the question, if it's not a race living under the earth, if it's not aliens, how do you hide a base for 55, 60, 72 years without somebody noticing it? Because there are whaling ships go down there, there are passenger liners go down there, there are tours to Antarctica. Someone's going to report something. And the other thing is, where would if there's a Nazi base down there, where are they getting the raw materials? Unless there's vast metal deposits under the ice, they're not going to be using the U-515 left over from 1945 today. That things are too old. So where are they just staying in it? What purpose are they are they there for as a readout? They have to eat, they have to get supplies in, and they're not going to be eating popsicles made out of the ice. So this is why it makes no sense to me. I don't believe the stories. I don't think they're really happening, because somebody would have discovered something down there. The Chilean fleet's down there, the Australians, New Zealanders, they all go down to that region. Somebody would have seen something by now, would have been reported. And we haven't seen any of those reports. And as to Admiral Byrd, there's a site I found that said that where his operation was, it's hundreds of miles away from where the supposed base is. So, and they ran down all the details of point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of, I took a screenshot of it so I can remember what the thing of, otherwise I'd have a stack of paperwork up to the ceiling of notes. Where the space was supposedly was, and said his fleet was miles and miles away from there. There was no Nazi base. This is why I don't believe it.
Yeah. I think our caller said he got dropped in the chat room, so we're going to go to the next caller. Caller, area code 760. You are on the air. Hello.
Hello, it's Eric.
Sorry, you're going to have to talk up.
Hello, it's Eric.
Hi, Eric. What can we do for you?
I don't know
I'm a little person.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little person.
Okay.
And it's not that easy being in a wheelchair.
Okay, I can't imagine that that it would be.
I feel completely disrespected by you guys.
Excuse me? Where did we disrespect you?
I'm on here too. I was waiting to speak to. I don't know if you forgot about me or.
Sorry, we're talking to another caller at the moment. I'll get to you in one moment. Sorry, caller 760. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, I sent you the roses.
George, do you know anything about that?
Roses? No, I don't have any roses. I went to the post office today. I got an email. I got a thing about Medicare. That's all I received. So I didn't get roses. I don't know what this person is talking about. Let's move on to the other caller.
You're definitely good looking.
Okay, thank you for the compliment. Let's move on to the other caller.
All right, yeah, let's move on here.
Fuck you.
All right.
You're an immature, stupid retard.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Other caller, you are on the air.
May the wheels of your wheelchair turn to rust.
Yes,
see what I got to put up with.
Indeed.
Hello.
Other caller, you're on the air.
Okay, I called earlier and I wanted to call back. I forgot to ask. I wanted to say, I was the guy that called about the coins, but I wanted to ask, the video that you had, I don't know, like a month ago or somewhere around that time frame, when you was on the bridge and the earthquake had happened, what was going through your mind? Was you like really scared at that time?
Yeah, I was scared. I'm in the middle of the bridge and the whole bridge started shaking. It didn't shake up and down. It shook. It undulated like a piano keyboard. And I ran off of that and it stopped. And I talked to the city engineers and they said, well, thank you for reporting it, but we haven't heard anything like that, and I haven't, with not feeling well and everything else is going on, I haven't had a chance to walk over to the city hall and go talk to them in person. I had to go to another office. They weren't answering the phone in the city engineer's office. I know exactly where they are. I've talked to them before about putting a speed bump in front of my building. They said they can't do it. But my cat got run over. But people come from the bars down the street and they drive like maniacs up the street. Someone's going to get killed one day. But I don't know. I've gone across footbridges that you see and other places. I've never seen wooden planks move in succession like they're made out of rubber. And that's what it looked like. And then suddenly they went back to normal. So it scared the hell out of me. You can hear it on the video where I'm practically panting. I went, oh my God, there's been an earthquake, and yet.
We got another caller on the line here.
Hey, George, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few questions about Nibiru.
Hey, caller, can you turn down your TV or radio or whatever's on in the background? It's very hard to hear you. Quite distracting.
Okay. Can you turn down the radio or mute it, please, honey? Yeah, but he needs to. Can you turn it down, honey, please? Or mute it? Can you call him? Yeah, I'm just going to talk for 2 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Just mute it. Mute it for a second.
To use the phrase, Smart Bell, to steal the phrase, extinguish your radio, madam, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, George. My name's Tom, and would you consider Nibiru to be the same as wormwood? And recently, last year, I think around September, John Kerry went down to Antarctica, and I know there's some stuff that Admiral Byrd dealt with due to Pleiadian grays and aliens and all that nature, but wouldn't you expect more earthquakes to be increasing with the approaching Nibiru?
Well, first of all, I don't believe there is a Nibiru. I talked about this with a friend of mine, and he said that you would have the gravitational effects would have been already noticed, and unless this thing's completely dark, like a portable black hole, or I'm using the wrong term, we would have seen. If you have a planetary body, it's going to have effects on other planetary bodies in the solar system. We've seen nothing of this, and NASA officially said this is an internet hoax. So I don't believe. I have Zachariah Sitchin's books. I don't have all of them. I've read some of them. I got a new one last week. I forgot to show it in the video. They're fascinating to read, but I don't think this rogue planet is heading for the Earth. I just don't believe it.
Okay. In 1988, they found something outside the Kuiper Belt, and currently NASA is doing backyard probes looking for a rogue, what they call planet
They're
X.
looking for the 10th planet. One thing I watched videos on this. I watched the program on this. And the problem is they said that they have to have some idea of where it is. And one thing I puzzled, and they said they had to have so many thousands of views of the area over and over and over to determine where these objects is. And I can't figure this out. They can't find a 10th planet beyond Pluto, and yet they can tell us what extrasolar planets are dozens of light years away, and I can't understand that. How come they can see this stuff way far out, but they can't see stuff that's relatively close? Now, maybe light or something is blocking their view. I don't know what the 10th planet is. There's indications there is one, and I've posted the links to that and talked about it, but I'm not that knowledgeable of it. But I don't think if we had a planet heading for Earth, or even look at asteroids that come 33 million miles away, which is relatively close in distance, but it's still far enough away it's not going to hit us. They find those. Some of them they won't see right away, but we would have seen it in a burrow by now.
They don't see until after they've already passed through, though. That's what scares me, is the ones that they miss with all those satellites up there and telescopes.
Well, the problem is they're only looking at a certain percentage of the sky. You could have every telescope we've got scanning the solar system. There's a lot of asteroids out there. I thought by now, frankly, that we would have been mining the asteroids for rare earths, for gold, for metals, and have a moon base, and you can shoot those asteroids to the moon and mine all the stuff out of them. Where was I reading today? Somewhere there was a meteorite, and the local people, the gold miners, were upset an actual meteorite hit in this town, and now NASA is studying a piece of one of the meteorites. It's a normal chondrite meteorite. But to get rid of this risk, we should be having a program to go up there and forcing the meteors and the asteroids that would be dangerous to our planet into the moon or into the moons of Mars or other planets that have moons, so they don't hit the Earth. And we're not doing it. I never understood why. You would make money in the long run doing this.
And incidentally, Apophis is supposed to make a close flyby in 2029, and if it does go through the keyhole, it's supposed to hit Earth in 2036. But they're not even quite sure about 2029, and they did build a seed bank in Norway.
Well, if something big enough hits the Earth, it's going to create the equivalent probably of nuclear winter, but in 2029, let me think. If I live long enough, I'd be in my 80s. I don't know if I'm going to be here, so I'm not going to worry about it. If, NASA had said it would take billions to create some kind of a program, they can't even decide how they would deflect one if it were heading toward the Earth. So this is one of the things that, what's the probability of these things doing it? And I think unless we had definitive news that this thing was definitely at the Earth, then we probably have still got a crash program to stop it. But whether we can stop it, you can't blow it up, because then you'd have dozens of mini asteroids all heading toward the Earth. All you can do is push it away.
Well, thank you very much, George, and I'm looking forward to the next interview about the Voynich, and that should be enough for now, I guess. And you answered my questions. This is awesome.
All right, thank you. I didn't hear the last part about something nation or something, but thank you for calling.
I think he said something.
He was talking about
I don't know what
script that he called in earlier about, because I think he would be a good potential guest for you to have on, maybe even next episode. We have
Is that the guy with the runes?
Yeah, with
the glyphs?
the manuscript.
Yeah.
I
would hope that one thing the haters and trolls would stop calling it. It really ruins the show, and you get your call, you don't call back because you've had your chance and other people are waiting.
Yeah. Okay. We have one last caller. Let's take this one, and then let's call it a night after that.
Okay.
So, caller, you are on the air. State your name and your question or comment.
Luke Skywalker once said, "Where's the OJ?"
Was the Force with him when he said that?
I don't know. I think the Force has left the building.
Yeah.
To that guy.
Yeah. that just flushed the lines for us.
That's it. Yeah,
so
right, straight to the Pink Lake. Send that guy.
That's right. So, anyone?
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
Jasmunda, are you going to go see that Pink Lake? I would like a first-hand report of the Pink Lake.
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but since you asked so nicely, I'll try to. It's probably about a 25-minute drive from where I am now, so maybe
bring the kids and pack a lunch, and maybe you could even do a video of it. You wouldn't have to show you, but I until I found this, and I found it I go from website to website, and I find things, and I think I may have found it on Fox somewhere. It would be fascinating to see a video of a pink lake, because I've never seen a pink lake,
I agree. I'd like to see a picture. Do some investigative reporting for us, Jazz. The George Senda Show needs you.
Yeah, I'll make an exclusive for George's YouTube channel. I'll make sure that I keep that camera up and not focused on the floor, and we'll get you that exclusive.
There is another pink lake in Australia, and there's one that's in, I think they said Guatemala. It's actually inland, and they say the interesting thing is it's the only pink lake that's fresh water. It has no outlet to the sea. All the rest are seawater. So but then I'm doing this from memory. I could be wrong in my details, but they said there's about 7 or 8 of them around the world. They're all pink lakes. So it's not just in Australia, but of course think whenever I see a story about Australia, the first thing I think of is Jasmine. And has he seen it?
That's why I think of the way.
You should do something about this, because you could be like the Australian Eric Van Daniken type. You could actually go out and people would get to know you as the Australian paranormalist.
On Paranormal
I don't know if there are any.
Allow me, good listeners and seekers.
Oops. Sorry
Hey,
about
are
that.
you screwing up our outro?
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, too much pink champagne at the Pink Lake location.
Well, I can be your roving reporter, your man on the spot for the guy from Pittsburgh YouTube channel. If you would just kindly pay for my airfare all around the world. I only travel first class.
Wait till I can pay for mine, then I'll give you a cut. Same with Curtis,
Well, you and I are going to go to Contact in the Desert if I can get enough donations for us, all right?
I would love to go to an event. People think, it's a woo-hoo thing. It's something that fascinates me to go to these things and talk to people and get to know them. So
yeah,
I'm cutting into your outro here, but so let me thank you for calling callers and listening, and I will see you again on the next show. And I thank Jasmine and Curtis for their kindness for giving me an opportunity to talk to the public. Bye-bye for now.
Not a problem. You have been listening to the George Senda Show. Thank you to my co-host, Curtis, the Mud King. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you, most importantly, to all the callers. And actually, most importantly, thank you to George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh. You can catch him at his YouTube channel, The Guy from Pittsburgh, somewhere on YouTube. And I'm sure this program will be up on that site very shortly. Thank you once again for listening, and bye for now.